Friday, April 29th, 2013, and this is the StephenBlakesley.com podcast. On today's podcast, we will talk to Hollister's Ryan Bernal, who has won 5 USAC features in 2013 across California. But first, a look at the racing results from over the weekend. This weekend was a busy one for the 410 sprint car scene, starting Friday with action at Silver Dollar Speedway in Chico. Andy Forsberg fended off 2012 track champion Sean Becker on multiple occasions to take the main event win. Becker made one last effort on the final lap but finished second ahead of Kyle Hurst, with Michael Tarter getting a solid 4th place finish. Saturday night, the trail moved over to Placerville Speedway for round 2 of the Golden State King of the West. A sellout crowd was treated to great action with 32 entries on hand. Antioch Speedway World of Outlaws winner Shane Golobic led 27 laps in the main event before being overhauled by Kyle Hurst, who took the Roth Motorsports entry to the win. Tommy Tarleton, Rico Abreu, and Jonathan Allard rounded out an all-star top 5 finishers. The King of the West will move on to Chico this weekend for the Dave Bradway Jr. Memorial, which will pay over $4,000 in cash and prizes to the winner of the Saturday night main event. The track's weekly 410 show will again compete on Friday night as well, making for a great 2-day program for the 410s. The California Sprint Car Civil War raced at Petaluma Speedway 37 cars strong, and it was local Bradley Terrell fending off the red-hot Justin Sanders for the win. Billy Butler, Primetime Mason Moore, and Sean the Shark Becker rounded out the top 5. The USAC West Coast 360s raced at Bakersfield Speedway, where it was Ryan Bernal getting his 4th West Coast win of the year. While the Unlimited Racing Association was racing at San Bernardino, California at the Orange Show Speedway for its first dirt event in 50 years. Mike Spencer topped the 22 entries for the Doc Griffin Memorial win ahead of the Demon Damian Gardner in a narrow victory. Over at Irwindale Speedway, they had a light turnout of just 10 NASCAR Super Late models, and former track champion Rip Michaels took the win after coming home second in the opening night race earlier this month. This weekend will be a busy one across the West Coast, with Friday night racing including the Ocean Sprints presented by Taco Bravo at John Prentice's Ocean Speedway, Watsonville. Saturday night will be the NASCAR Can-Am Pro Series West at Stockton 99 Speedway for the G-Oil 150. The event has attracted 32 entries for 24 starting positions, with 2012 Ocean Sprints champion Shane Golobic and legend standout Louis Tyrrell among the hopefuls to make the starting grid. Saturday night will also see All-American Speedway in Roseville return to action after a week off, and Placerville Speedway will host the USAC Western Classic Sprint Cars. Paris Auto Speedway gets back underway with the USAC CRA Sprint Cars, and Kern County Raceway Park will hold another practice day in preparation for their grand opening, which was moved to May 18th earlier this week. When we come back to the StephenBlakesley.com podcast, we'll talk to Ryan Bernal about his red-hot start to the 2013 USAC campaign. But first, a look at our sponsors. StephenBlakesley.com is brought to you by MotoWear International. Throughout the world of racing, there is a common thread: MotoWear, online at MotoWear.com. And also brought to you by Matt Jackson of Proline Pit Carts, the promoter of the Toyota Southwest Super Lates, racing on the road course at Willow Springs in 2013. For more information, visit swsracing.com. And we're back on the StephenBlakesley.com podcast, and we're talking to Ryan Bernal, who has been red hot in USAC competition on the West Coast and leads the USAC West Coast points. And Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on the show.
So you had a pretty big season last year, but this year you've been on a tear, 5 wins in the last 6 weeks, I believe. Just can you tell us about your whirlwind season you're having right now?
It's going good. I mean, in the beginning, after Vegas, we're like towards the early stages of the season, when we're in Canyon, we struggle a little bit. We went to Vegas. I spun out with like 2 to go, and right there kind of put me at a low in the season. But I mean, after that, I had a talk with Jimmy, I had a talk with my dad, and kind of just settled down and regrouped. And after that, we just started picking off wins, and the team has been awesome. Jimmy and Mikey worked really hard on those race cars, and I couldn't ask for a better car every weekend. And we jumped on board with Factory King shocks, and their shock program has put us where we are right now. And so everything right now has been going really well for the Josh Ford Motorsports team, and it just feels good to be able to win three. I think that was 3 or 4 in a row this weekend. So it does feel really good to be winning races, and hopefully we can keep the streak going.
And on Saturday night, you scored the win at Bakersfield Speedway, and that extended your already healthy USAC West Coast points lead. Are you guys planning on going for the series title down there?
With Western Classic?
With the West Coast Series.
Yeah, we're going for the West Coast Series, and then I don't know what we have planned for Western Classic as well. We might run that too. So everything, I mean, the only thing really set in stone is West Coast 360. So other than that, we're kind of looking around, looking at what other stuff we can fit in our schedule. So, yeah, but for now, we're sticking with West Coast 360 Series.
And you guys elected to skip some of the USAC CRA stuff, skipping Yuma, Arizona, to run at Ocean Speedway, Watsonville a couple weeks ago, and obviously that paid off pretty well for you.
No, it definitely did. We just wanted to kind of stay close to home, and we ran what was it, Watsonville and Tulare, I think. Yeah, and we ended up getting both those wins those nights, so it was a good idea on our part to stay home and get those wins and just kind of build the confidence team up and just kind of test and tune stuff and prepare for Sprint Week.
And what was the motivation behind you guys deciding to not go after the CRA points this year? Obviously, you guys had a lot of success with the CRA last year, but ended up a little bit down in the points because you missed a couple of races. Just what's been kind of the mindset with your team as to why you guys aren't running the CRA?
I'm not totally sure. I mean, we struggled a couple nights, which put us back pretty bad, and after that, I'm not totally sure why we didn't, but we're running races and we got pretty far ahead in West Coast 360, so we're gonna stick with that series and just go out and try and win races is what our goal is this year.
So we're on the phone with Ryan Bernal, the USAC West Coast points leader. And Ryan, this is your third year running USAC Sprint Cars, and you've been winning races just about the entire time. What do you think it'll take to get you to break through and really get yourself perhaps a regular ride back east in Indiana?
I think just the consistency of winning races, being versatile in different race cars as well. Jimmy with JFM, they've got midgets as well, so I need to get myself in more midget races and just keep on doing really well in the Wingless Sprint Car 410 and 360 and show everybody what I got when we go back to Sprint Week, and after Sprint Week maybe I'll end up with a full-time ride, but I mean what JFM's given me, I can't get any better here in California, so we're going to do what we can here and win races, and then we'll go back to Sprint Week and show them what we got.
And when you talk about this Sprint Week opportunity, what team are you guys going to be running for back there?
We're taking all our stuff back there, so I'll have all Josh Ford Motorsports, everything I've been comfortable in for the last year, and we're gonna just me, Jimmy May, Mikey, and the Fords are gonna go back to Indiana and run their cars and see what we can do.
Can you explain to the fans at home kind of your background in racing? I think a lot of folks may not realize that you're kind of a lower budget guy, and this opportunity with Keith and Josh Ford, this has really been kind of life-changing for you these last couple of years, hasn't it?
Yeah, it definitely has. I mean, I've raced with my dad since I was 4.5 to probably about 16 years old, and then I got picked up by Danny Olmstead, and he gave me a car. But he funded the team, and me and my dad still ran the team together, and we ended up winning. Me and my dad together my first year in the Sprint Car in the West Coast Series. We pulled off a Rookie of the Year and second in points, and also the Santa Maria Track Championship title. And one night at Santa Maria, Jimmy May did come up to me and said he's interested in doing something the next year. And I talked to them. I mean, I had no idea who they were or what they were about. And Jimmy told us to come down the shop one day. I went down the shop and I was like, holy cow, this is a serious sprint car team. And they had cars lined up. They had motors under the benches. And it was the opportunity I've always been waiting for. And once we did start running, we were strong right off the bat. Our first CRA race, we were second. And since then, we've been strong as a team, and we work really well together. And they give me all the great equipment that I need to win races.
And you ran a little bit of micros, I believe, and you had the wings on there, but ever since then you've been wingless. What kind of led you to be a wingless sprint car driver? With how big wing sprint car racing is in California, it's kind of interesting to have a guy like yourself that's kind of made your whole career out of wingless.
It was actually started in micros. I did run a lot of wing stuff, and then we ended up taking the wings off at Stockton, and I liked it. I liked how the cars were a little bit more out of control. It kind of fit my driving style, and it was just, when I got into the non-wing cars, I didn't want to get out. I liked how they were all over the place. You had to be in a lot of control to be fast in a non-wing sprint race car. And then we got into spec sprints, and I never got into a wing sprint car. I'm still open to it. But I've been stuck to non-wing sprint cars since then. So it's just, I feel comfortable in them, and I just like to throw them around there.
And I'm sure you've noticed, like we all have, that the wingless spec sprint car has gotten very expensive, and the car counts have gone down over the last couple of years. A lot of places have single-digit car counts. But you were one of those guys that you kind of followed the path the way it was sort of laid out, to go from quarter midgets to micros to wingless to the 360 wingless and then to CRA. How important do you think that experience in the spec sprint was for you, and how important do you think that series is to try to keep those cars going?
I think spec sprints, from younger kids getting into a bigger race car, getting ready for sprint cars, I think spec sprints are the race car to be in. Spec sprints get you ready for just the feel of the race car, how big they are. You get a feel for how big the tires are, the stagger. It gets you comfortable in the car, and I think that was a perfect idea by my dad to put me in a spec sprint because it got me comfortable. It got me ready for an injected car, and once I did get an injected car, I mean, the horsepower was different, of course, but I was used to sitting in a sprint car. I was used to the wheelbase, how big they were, and racing with other sprint cars. So I think it's definitely a key thing to do when you're coming up through racing.
So my last question for you, one of your good friends, Shane Golobic, will be making his NASCAR debut this weekend, hopefully, in the NASCAR Cannon West at Stockton. And I have to ask you, what are your long-term racing goals? Do you plan on being a sprint car driver back east? Do you have aspirations to go into NASCAR? What do you think you'd like to do in racing?
Probably the kind of the thing that Kyle did. I mean, Kyle ran the midgets and sprint cars back east a lot. He was on pavement, and then he got picked up by a stock car team. And that's, I mean, every kid's goal is to go to NASCAR when they start racing. So I'm just going to keep racing, keep winning races, and just see where it takes me. Of course, I would love to get into a stock car soon. So I just got to keep winning races and trying to open some eyes.
We want to thank you for tuning in to this edition of the StephenBlakesley.com podcast. Thanks again to our guest, Ryan Bernal, who will race at Paris Auto Speedway this weekend with the USAC CRA Sprint Cars. We will have live Twitter updates Friday night from Ocean Speedway, Watsonville for the Ocean Sprint Cars presented by Taco Bravo. Follow us on Twitter at the Twitter handle @StephenBlakesley. And for the best in short track racing news, you can follow us on our website, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you at the races.